Stone? Stone!
The beloved spy genre. You know, we've actually loved them for decades. Whether we're talking about the James Bond series and movies, or we even talk about Mission Impossible. Yes, folks, that's been around for decades now. And even more recently, we've had things like the Bourne series. So the spy genre is definitely intertwined, and we know how a lot of that genre goes and the motifs that go along with it, all that kind of good stuff. And while there's been some very good ones, there's also been some bad ones too. Now, up until about maybe 30 years ago, it was mostly a male driven genre. But starting around about 30 years ago, we've actually had some decent offerings of female led spy series or movies. For example, Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis, or Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron, or you go ahead and look at Alias. So we actually have a good example of female-led spy genres as well. The crazy thing is that this past year we've actually had a few of those female spy genres come out as well. We've actually had The Citadel, starring Chopra Jonas, and we've also had Mother, played by Jennifer Lopez. And now we actually have Heart of Stone, starring Gal Gadot, on Netflix. And so now it is my job to go ahead and actually tell you if this particular spy movie is top tier, mid, or meh. And I'm gonna go ahead and actually do it without spoiling it for you. Nice, huh? You see, I love spy genre movies, films, series, all that kind of good stuff. Love all that. So I am a main character for this. I love this type of stuff. I'm gonna give you main character energy on this. That way you know what slant I'm coming from as I'm doing this review, so you really kind of understand where I'm going with it. Because I like to watch new movies that come on the streaming services. They're exclusive to streaming. So you need somebody to review this to let you know, are you going to waste your time or not? I got you. I'm going to go and actually let you know if this is for you or not. If you like how that sounds, do me a favor. Click like, share, subscribe. And now, let's get to this review. Heart of Stone premiered on Netflix in August of 2023. It has a runtime of a little over 2 hours. And starring Gal Gadot as Rachel Stone, an agent of the Charter, which is a spy agency in this movie. Jamie Dornan as Parker, who's a former MI6 agent. And Aaliyah Bhatt as Kenya Darwin, who is a young hacker in this movie. So the story goes like this. An intelligence operative for a shadowy global peacekeeping agency races to stop a hacker from stealing its most valuable and dangerous weapon. So given the stars, given the runtime, given the story on here, here's my expectations as a main target audience member. Now, for us, for our main folks on here, we expect cool action and fight scenes. The stunts and gadgets gotta be on point. We love that stuff in spy genre movies. Maybe a few explosions if we can. Car chase scene is always good, especially if you if you have a new slant on it. And anything else that you can think of that's action related, we crave that. We want that in these types of series. Also gotta like the main protagonist. I don't want somebody that's not likable or is not cool enough or whatever, because then you lose me as a main target member, because then I just don't care about the rest of it. The last thing that I really need to go ahead and actually have is I have to believe the purpose for the conflict. Whether it's like a MacGuffin or real world politics, I like to believe that it's somewhat believable that the events could really happen, and it gives more gravitas to whatever's happening in the movie. Okay? Now, for casuals, the number one thing for them is it has to all make sense. They're not into going and actually making leaps and bounds and jumps and conclusions or whatever. It has to make sense for them. If it all seems too unreal, the casuals are not going to suspend disbelief to watch it all. They also want the main character to be likable and they want to have a good reason for them to go all out. Like, if this person going this hard for this particular reason or whatever, I gotta like them, and you gotta show me why. The action is secondary to a casual, but it should look good just to keep them entertained throughout for like some of those lulls that maybe happen in the story. Okay, so that's what we have for our expectations. Let's see if this has a heart or if it'll sink like a stone. Nah, you like it? You like that? Look, my jokes are funny. You should like them. Okay, so story first. So there's nothing inventive about this story, especially if you're a fan of spy content. An intelligence shadow agency has been around as long as like Spectre existed for the Bond franchise. There's always kind of like a counter agency to whatever spy agency you're following. It's a trope that spans decades, right? And them running interference to a country, recognize intelligence agencies like CIA, MI6, any of those types of recognized intelligence agencies, it's always a group that goes against them that knows a little bit more. They have higher level trained agents, whatever. That's nothing inventive. Now in this one, the dangerous weapon in this story is a system that is essentially a complex, fast acting algorithm that data mines, has access to all kinds of systems of the world. And it figures out tactics, motives, strategies, all that kind of stuff. Now we've seen similar types of weapons or programs or AI types of things, whether you're talking about like person of interest, or even most recently Rabbit Hole with Kiefer Sutherland, or Class of '09, which has been on Fox. So that object and that weapon aspect of things is nothing new. Okay. Now, this particular agency controls this algorithm known as the heart. And the bad guys are trying to get it, because of course they are. Bad guys are trying to get it because of revenge, payback, no one should control this power, etc., etc. All the typical tropes that, bad guys go ahead and actually believe that they're right. The story is fine, it's nothing new or nothing bad, it just kind of is what it is. I will say, however, the dialogue and writing for this movie is just blah. Okay? Some cheesy or eye roll types of lines are just sprinkled throughout this movie. And there's a couple of scenes that you just know that was added because we were never really given or shown motivations until later on. So they had to insert a scene to kind of explain things. And it's like they just wrote that scene out to kind of just awkwardly tell you it. And the story writing there just leaves a little bit to be desired. Now, the story for mains is probably tolerable because we're used to like tropes and things of that nature. For casuals, there's going to be some more eye rolling and coincidentals that just kind of will drive a casual viewer crazy. But if you've never watched a spy genre with the kind of whole world ruling AI possibility, the story may be more engaging for you just because you've never engaged with that type of concept before. But if you have, there's not going to be much nuance here or nothing new for you. Now, the acting. Part of the issue is the storytelling and dialogue at times can be boring. And so there's times where the actors have very little to work with. But when the dialogue or story is decent, I'm not really feeling these folks in their roles. I like that Gal Gadot is doubling as being detached and also being compassionate in this story. She has to kind of juggle between both because she's implanted and trying to go ahead and actually help out certain circumstances here, right? I don't know if she's able to actively convey either one. Either you're going to be fully detached and just have a hint of kind of compassion, or you're going to be compassionate and find it difficult to detach. But she doesn't really work either one. Like, she's kind of got a cool vibe to her general, like overall, her look about her. She's got a cool look to her as far as having that spy look to her. And especially like when she has her like athleticism, she looks really cool in action scenes and things like that. But when everything is slowed down, she's just not at a good level. I don't really believe in her performances. And she's okay, but if I'm gonna be honest, if I compare her to someone like say Gina Davis in Long Kiss Goodnight, where you could see her switch on her personalities and she carries it differently, it's night and day. So Gal Gadot does a decent job, but nothing that kind of elevates the material. It would help her though if her supporting cast can kind of help boost her up, but they're not really much better. Honestly, the only person that I want to see more of in that acting aspect was Paul Reddy as the MI6 tech expert Bailey. All the other parts in this movie are average at best. All other parts were average at best. Both mains and casuals probably won't be fans of the acting in this movie. Some other things to note here. The action scenes were actually pretty good. Some awesome locations and sets. And as I stated before, Gal Gadot shines in action scenes. Like there's a fight scene in an apartment early on that was very reminiscent of the apartment scene in Bourne Identity that I liked in the very first Bourne Identity. And this was very similar to it. There's also a fight scene on a Zeppelin, which is creative. And there's a couple of good chase scenes in here. While they don't do anything groundbreaking, those action scenes were very much entertaining. And it boosts the movie up for both types of audiences in order to know that, hey, there is some good action that happens here. But all that being said, let's go and actually get to the verdict. For mains, this is a watch, but it's a watch at your leisure. You don't have to rush and watch it right away. This is if you're craving like a different kind of spy movie, perfectly acceptable entry to watch. It's entertaining enough to want to see Gal Gadot be a badass. The story or dialogue won't be the motivating factor for you. It's just a variety of a different type of spy genre that's competently made, and it could be interesting to watch. So there's no rush to watch it, but I would suggest to go and actually give it a watch on a lazy afternoon. For casuals, I'm probably going to say it's a skip it. Now, I'll put the caveat that you can go ahead and actually have it on your playlist if you have like someone who loves spy movies and you want to have something that's not going to kill you to watch or what have you. It's fine to have it on your playlist for that. But for you by yourself as a casual viewer, it's just not probably going to work for you. For you as a standalone, as a casual viewer, I don't think that there's much there for you to go ahead and actually grab onto. There's better options for you to watch out there like Mission Impossible or Bond film. Or if you really want to go ahead and actually see a female-led one, check back on the ones I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, like Long Kiss Goodnight, Atomic Blonde, what have you. Those are going to be some better selections for you. So for mains, go ahead and actually watch it at your leisure. For casuals, I'm going to say it's a skip it. And that's what I have for Heart of Stone on Netflix. Check it out.
Chance of success just plummeted.
Only because you've got no imagination.
I appreciate you staying with me for the entire review. Because you're awesome like that, do me a favor. Go ahead and actually click like on the video. And if you'd be so inclined, go ahead and actually subscribe too as I continue to grow the channel. And if you have more time, check out one of my other videos over here that YouTube is suggesting for you. But until the next review, I'll holler at you. Take care of yourself.